So nearly 4.5 hours later, after the Return of the King extended edition, wrapping up this Lord of the Rings extended edition marathon. I know you're probably a bigger fan than me of these, so I'll let you say some stuff.
Return of the King is my favourite one. Yeah, I think it's the strongest one, even with the 4.5 hour cut. There's a lot in there. There's a lot of extra scenes. Again, it doesn't take anything away from the theatrical, but I do like that one. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, so on positive, I mean, my ranking to start is I actually think Fellowship is actually the best, and then Return of the King is the second best, and Two Towers comes in third. And I'll be honest, although it's 4.5 hours, I don't think it's badly paced. I think the worst paced one is Two Towers, which is why I've put that lot. Pacing wise, Return of the King, it doesn't actually feel as long as that. It is actually quite, and there is a lot that goes on. You don't get bored or anything like that. And the second half, even though it's hours long, is pretty consistently action and battles and all sorts. And it's very cinematic and it's very spectacular. And it is old, really, 22 years down the line. Obviously, CGI at the time, it's got its weaknesses. I'm not a big fan of CGI at times, but I understand the use.
It's starting to show, yeah.
I understand the need, because obviously some of what they're trying to do without doing CGI is impossible. I get that, and there was talk back in the day of when these films come out that it hadn't been possible to bring these films to life on screen because of technology. Hence why there was the animated one. And so I do get it, but like we was having a discussion, like a critique is, I don't think Gollum looks great. I actually felt back in the day it wasn't amazing. I know about the technology and
you preferred a practical special effect.
The point I was making, if you remember, we were just talking about, is the opening to the film. It shows Gollum becoming Gollum, really. Smeagol becoming Gollum.
The river folk.
But they used practical in that, and the practical bits of Gollum practically looked really good. And it's like, well, that would have been great to have done. Peter Jackson's done awesome stuff in his early days before he did Lord of the Rings, like with Bad Taste and Braindead, using all these practical effects. So I get bits of, obviously, when he's rock climbing and jumping around. I know there is restraints, but still, I feel like more practical could have been used, and it probably would have been easier and cheaper doing it that way. And it looked like it still held up. That's what sitting there now in 2025, looking back. That beginning bit is still awesome. Apart from the beginning bit is a weak opening. I like the scene. I feel like Andy Serkis live action weren't selling it for me. It was really weird. Like the looks and the acting, it just, out of seeing Fellowship and Two Towers like consistently every night being marathoning me, it was really like, wow, that's not strong. That was like a weird, like, and then we go back into I feel bad saying it, but I really did feel like there was just like, I kind of laughed. There was a shot where they're on the boat fishing. He's like, oh, but I was this is like the opening 2-3 minutes of the film. I'm like, it's because he's not actually, when I'm saying that, he's not Gollum at that point. He is Smeagol. That's the point. He was just being creepy and weird. That's what it was. It's almost like, I feel like you forgot that you're not Gollum yet. That's how it, like, you're not actually that character.
I was surprised he kept the voice for that beginning bit. I thought the voice would have, become that over the 500 years of his life. It's
probably coming across somebody. It was just weird. Like, I liked the scene. It wasn't strong. I liked the opening. It was something about, like you said, the voice, the acting. It was weird. The actual scene in principle was cool and good, but it was like almost like childish. It was like, oh, give it to me when he's like, it was all a bit awkward. I actually felt like it was an awkward.
Young Hobbit folk, they are a little bit childish.
Oh, there was a bit of a strange undertone in that whole scene, to be honest. But I won't go there. It was just, and it stood out because out of all 3 films, all extended versions, all scenes, that stood out the most out of the whole lot. It was, but put that aside, because I'm sidetracking on that. The rest of the film is pretty solid, apart from, again, and it is only small gripes, but I was saying about Aragorn, I feel like for a finale fight, considering there is all this fight and all this battling, I just felt like it'd be cool if he had a showdown with like his ancestor, did with something more than just quick snapshots of fighting. You know,
Well, I said I disagree with that because although he's the king and he's a big character, he does a lot through all three films, but he is in support of the hobbits. The hobbits are kind of the true heroes, the underdogs,
I get
especially
that.
Frodo and Sam.
It's just that when
It's their time.
you're sitting through 4.5 hours, technically you sat through 12 hours of 3 films. It's a big
It's not all
payoff.
about Aragorn, you know.
Yeah, and the only gripe with extended version, well, in general, just as a film this big, is obviously a lot's happened over 3 films, but it takes a long time to wrap it up. So once we've hit the finale, the ring is, spoiler alert, but the ring is destroyed, and
No.
well, you know, some people might not have seen it, but the ring is
It's
destroyed.
been over 20 years.
And it just, once you've hit the resolution and the finale, it then just, that's the only bit that drags. We're like, right, it's taken a long time to wrap up the, it's like you don't want to let it go. We're going to do this, or we're going to do this, we're going to, it's done. The film is done. It's like you got to wrap it
hours
up.
of trauma. They're just making sure everyone knows that everyone survived is okay. After we've been through it with them, we just need to know they're okay now.
And looking back, it was a bit cheesy when the ring just faded out, rather than like melt and disintegrate. It was like
did melt.
It
melted
kind of just,
in the lava.
it kind
Yeah,
of just.
I mean, it's
It's
a
an effect.
volcano,
It was
Jason.
effect. That was CGI effects where it just didn't quite. It
You know, I
kind of.
think,
It
I
kind
think,
of.
did you miss the part where the giant eye in the sky exploded?
So what I'm going to say is, this was 2003, right? And we have Gollum. Again, I know you joke, but spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, because there are people that might have seen it. Gollum going into the lava, holding the ring up,
It goes precious.
not really melting, just kind of like faded with bad CGI. You can compare that to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which still looks amazing, with the T-1000 going in there, dramatically melting away, and then even with a bit of practical of Schwarzenegger going down thumbs up. They got it right in 91, but in 2003 that was pretty weak. And they are similar scenes. That's a character going into the lava. That is like, you know, you can compare them. That's so I'm a bit like, that could have been better. If Terminator 2 could do it with James Cameron, Peter Jackson could have done that with, you know, could have put a little bit more budget in that end bit. I like the film. It's a cool film, but these are just things that I know.
Can you tell he's a filmmaker?
Like, my films aren't on level with living Lord of the Rings. I'm just, you know, I'm actually easygoing. You know, it's just, there's a lot of epic
You are
stuff
not
in it.
easygoing.
There's a lot of epic stuff in it, and I'm just like, you know, these are, but no, it's a hell of a journey. I mean, you know, it's they've really gone out of their way just to return a ring they didn't want. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm glad when I return battered physical media goods that it's not quite as epic as going to Mordor.
I don't know, sometimes.
but you know, for a simple premise of a faulty ring that needed to be returned, that was hardcore. But
I mean, it kind of has a power of its own, a mind of its own. It does try to manipulate everything around it. It's not just a ring.
And I do find the undertone of Gollum interesting, with like a lot of mental health issues. I pick up on a real subtext, and considering when the books were wrote, it is just interesting about this like personality disorders, split personality, mental health, all these things flag up, which, you know, I do find that interesting.
It's the combination of his 500 years of life plus being tormented by a ring that manipulates you in some, whatever its magic is. It brings out the worst in you, and it's messed with his mind, and it's split him into two.
Okay, I like, characters are strong in the trilogy. I mean, round up the trilogy. The filmmaking is good. Again, not massive gripe, but I've said this before of other films. Christopher Nolan did it in Batman Begins particularly, is sometimes in the fight scenes, I do find cinematography and editing a bit rough and ready, a bit too much. And that isn't just Lord of the Rings. I do have that problem with a few films, as I said. One that comes to mind, which was really bad for it, was particularly Batman Begins out of the Dark Knight trilogy.
Is that with the too many quick cuts?
There's a lot
You
of
struggle to
cuts.
Follow what's
Batman was bad for the cuts. Lord of the Rings isn't so bad for editing speed and it's cinematography. Like, the film is really well made. Then you get to a battle scene, it's like,
yeah.
and that's
there's a cut. Everywhere's a
bit
cut.
much. I myself do prefer to act. It's almost
You
like
long shots.
no, it's almost like you're hiding
Yeah.
what's going on. So like, I'm really into film, but I'm like, who's that? What are they doing? Like sometimes it's a bit too
It's so
much.
quick you can't
It's
see what's happening.
but you know, these are minor. Like, but everyone, these are minor, right? Like, you know, overall, it's a very epic fantasy adventure that I do enjoy.
I think considering the books, considering the everything required to go into these to make them what they are today, that's a hell of a feat he pulled off.
Yeah, and it is filmmaking history what Peter Jackson did with this trilogy, and you know, I mean, I can't imagine the toll it took. I know it was 10 years for him he spent doing that trilogy. And it was 2 years production, filming them back to back, and then all the editing and the pre-production. He spent a decade of his life of film career doing that. And but it is history of film. Like that is a trilogy that will be enjoyed by the many to come, which is why I say about spoilers, because some people will be, you know, you forget when I look around the cinema when they do reruns like this, there are young people there going, they weren't around when these first come out. They you know, I've been to reruns recently of other films, and people, you can hear them afterwards, they've not seen these films, so they are people.
I do like when people gasp at old films when they watch an old film and you hear them go. Oh, like they've never seen that. It's like, oh, that's so cute. They haven't seen this.
and strangely, you had two people next to you who like left after the 2 hour mark. They watched like half of it.
Yeah, they just got up and left.
And so they missed the big.
They were very
kicks
fidgety.
into action. But
I was like, what a shame.
I will say it is long to sit there and watch the extended cuts. I think it is rewarding. I do recommend, but at this day and age particularly, I know attention spans can be a bit hard going. I like losing myself for a long time like that. It is a journey. I you know, it doesn't put me off. I know some people get put off when we say you're going towards the 4.5 hour mark, which is exceptional. That is an exceptional length. Peter Jackson did seem to pick up a knack for making long films after the Lord of the Rings films. Yeah. And again, I will just say, I get Frightener vibes a lot with the Ring raves. That, you know, when you look at Frighteners, which he did beforehand, which is a great film, heavy on CGI. Which, but there is like the Reaper, the death in the Frighteners very much is like a prototype for the Ring raves. I do find that.
I think they're just a classic cloaked, scary character.
But you can tell that's Peter Jackson. So there's but it's great. I recommend Peter Jackson's early work. I do recommend.
Bad Taste.
Bad Taste, Brain Dead, Frighteners, Even Meet the Feebles. I recommend his early. Sometimes I prefer his earlier stuff than then what he went on to do with Hobbit and King Kong and stuff. I like that. So anyway, if you haven't checked Lord of the Rings out, check it out. And check out Bad Taste.
Yes.